Boon, boon, boon. Website designed for boon.land. Improvised by Splashy. Format for TikTok. Scored by Boonhonk the genre. Boonhonk the genre. The secret is that in a lot of instances, you want to have a conversation with someone who can have a conversation at a human pace and see what they would write into software because they've had a lot of conversations. And it does matter which structure of conversation we practice, and we can practice a variety of shapes of conversations, and having a diverse team helps with that. If you have a lot of people on your team, then you can have a lot of conversations that are structured differently. And if there are more situations occasions, when there are more occasions to collaborate with a diverse team, you can see how different people approach a relatively neutral or positive occasion. If the occasion is designed to allow for that kind of contribution, which means project design is more relevant. Cheers. There should be a classic header with the boon.land logo in the top left. The top right has a hamburger menu, or whatever you call it, the one with the 3 lines. When you scroll to the bottom of the page, there should be a footer. The website background, like the main background. The main background should be the main branding color. The card content color should match the bone.land neutral palette. Boon.land should feel like a website. We might learn something from the Bootstrap library. That reminds me of the lore from when I learned how to code. That's not really. Some of the lore from when I learned how to code. The later lore from when I was in college. Some people are going to feel like Bootstrap is a classic website, and that can be a dimension of design. I might wonder that way. Cheers. Bane.land should complement boon.land. This might be the place to test out a font for bone.land. The header should be minimal or invisible unless you scroll. Then maybe it should take on a slight opacity. I think bane.land should focus on a hero image and imply that the hero image can speak for itself. And this can be a way to test out paths. The ones that make the most sense might be the ones that make the most sense universally. So the design of bane.land is going to focus more on the routes than the component design, while boon.land is going to focus more on the component design. And shared elements can be... We can consider bone.land later. Cheers. Bane. Mr. Boonwap. Still saying splab, are we? Splabolti! I'll figure you out one day. My major in college was learning and education studies with a concentration in applied learning science. And I say that often because I reflect on what that means. I think that I could say it without reflecting on what it means. But then what else would I say in the video? Now I can post a video to YouTube and see what Gemini believes I said. Does Gemini believe? What is the nature of belief? I wondered about the nature of belief with factshift.com. The nature of thought versus belief. Are there things that I think versus things that I believe? Can I understand something differently than believing it? And how do I ground that understanding? I recommend experienced engineers practice making videos. Develop a style. AI can summarize videos, and practicing making videos can be challenging. And navigating challenge is where we develop skills. Not every challenge develops every skill, and some challenges turn out to be net harmful. I wonder about how to design bane.land to describe the concept of challenge without implying challenge is unnecessary and without glorifying arbitrary struggle. Some wonder, how do I relate to this medium as a storyteller? How have the relationships I've formed on TikTok over the past few years developed? What have I learned about myself and my capacity to care about others? How do I bring these concepts into the stories I tell? When do I share these moments? And how can I practice? Cheers. Bone. A boon, boon. A boon, boon. Bone.land is probably going to be an index more for assets between boon.land and bane.land. I still need to figure out how I'm going to share assets for digital creation across my teams. So far, Discord works somewhat because enough people are there, although not everyone is on Discord, and some people are only technically there. It is possible for me to update all of my websites with AI all at once, and if I do, I might come up with an idea and want to update them again. And I can keep on doing that, but if I don't make any part of that process public, if I don't bundle that experience, then no one is going to have shared that experience, which I've already done. And it has cost some money. In high school, I took advanced placement macroeconomics and microeconomics, and I appreciate that. I thought that I was learning the subject for the test, and I appreciate that my teacher made the subject relatable enough for me to have remembered years later. Investing into learning structures that can make it possible to update ecosystems has been interesting, and I've learned a lot. And I appreciate having conversations with other people who find what I'm working on interesting passively, because we can wonder about shared models and update our understanding of a world. And I appreciate investing into the ecology of understanding. Currently, I'm improvising clips for a sequence that I intend to be a demo of what can hydrate a longer form episode for lore.land. And the idea is that I'm integrating elements that I've mentioned before over years of making videos. I can kind of hint at the idea that there are motifs that I've had consistently in my ecosystem for a while, though I hope the audience of this video is partially new people, so I don't anticipate all of the references being familiar. And some things I've said might have sounded like references, even though I don't intend for that to be true. For all of the things that sound like references. I don't intend for all of the things that I say to sound like references, although I do intend to have a style, so I hope the tone that I carry sounds like my style. If you have an art style and you post about it, one reason why people might check out your videos is to wonder about your art style. And the TikTok algorithm is pretty good at introducing people, but you need to actually meet people. If you make videos, it's more likely that someone who makes your style of video will comment on your video. And if you reciprocate that, then you can match energy. It's possible. How many people use this app? How many people use TikTok? You can post videos to YouTube. Gemini can summarize videos. You can wonder about the density of your videos. I kind of wonder when it's clear. I wonder whether it's clear that this is a stitch of multiple videos. Maybe because I mentioned that. Is it going to be clear which segments are related? Is now a good time to mention context clues? I make videos like this for people who prefer this medium, and I understand I can summarize this video. And I also know ChatGPT can generate an article. So where is my voice? Like, what am I saying? A concept is I can design websites by describing them in videos like this. And perhaps this video is to mention tealstripesvibes.com and boon.land.com. Also, tealstripesvibes.org. I'm hiring. Is that true? I'm applying to roles and won't get hired everywhere I apply. You can also apply where I apply. We can mention that we know each other. We can post about it on tealstripesvibes.org and develop a zine for tealstripesvibes.com. Teal Stripes Vibes is a mnemonic. Teal is meant to be a customizable palette. Stripes are meant to be a customizable texture. Vibes are what we practice. Also kind of just what happens, but if we don't practice, sometimes we do the opposite. The boon-bane-bone concept is connected to a 5-site cluster: boon.land, bane.land, bone.land, bonk.land, and honk.land. Sometimes I forget which ones I've already mentioned in that list. Sometimes. The idea is that they would all represent a reason to wonder about a concept, and that would be related to lore.land. Previously, they all inherited the same codebase from factshift.com. And I like that idea because factshift.com as a neutral frame is interesting. I'm thinking each of them can represent the same concept, and lore.land can tie that all together. And there can be a script, and it can be posted to GitHub, and a different version can be rented and installed on others' own accords. The concept here is shared lore and a reason to continuously wonder about a multidimensional experience. And I have an idea for rpgwednesday.shop to source the content, or the variant. rpgwednesday.shop and texture.website to source the variation, and trope.wiki to tag the motifs, and tealstripesvibes.com to bundle the episodes and textures and inputs, and boonbanebone.com to represent the network station. Now Gemini can summarize these videos. I mentioned that. Different parts of the video are going to have different lyricicity, lyricality, musicality. Different parts of the video, different parts are going to be different amounts of musical, different kinds of rhythmic. Gemini can summarize them. Grok is good at math and physics, has some social context. ChatGPT is good at maintaining a canon. What's canonical, or what's been mentioned. Midjourney is very creative with imagery, and I'm kind of curious about turning lyrics into Midjourney prompts. I wonder about that for boonbanebone.com. The original concept for boonbanebone.com was character seeds, and I recognized I needed to mind what that could mean. Also, who cares? Partially because the language models have had different relationships with different people. Different people have had different relationships with the language models. Now I think episode cards is the preferred way. You can make your own character seeds. And I drew some. There's an old video on my YouTube channel, the clown animation. Now Boon Honk is more goose themed. Kinda curious about other birds, other horns, other honks. Cheers. Wonder about pie. Boon, boon, boon.